Feminists are outraged that men don't want to date them. In an article titled The Dangerous Rise of Men Who Won't Date Woke Women, the idea really being conveyed is that men don't want to date feminists. But what it's really about is this British actor guy essentially says he broke up with his girlfriend or something because she was woke. He says Meghan Markle isn't a victim of racism in the press, and that, you know, these feminists are being taught that they're victims when they're really not. He would be correct. Everybody to a certain degree is slighted in some way, but no, you are not a massive oppressed class. Women in America are some of the most privileged people on the planet. I get it. There's arguments to be made about, sexism, racism, bigotry, all that stuff. But come on, man. Everybody's got their cards to play. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't fight to improve things. And I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying everybody needs to calm down. Now, when it comes to the woke women, I think they tend to be, it's a fringe ideology. So I'll tell you this. They may as well have titled this article, "Why Won't Men Date Me?" or "I'm Angry That Men Won't Date Me." I love how they call it dangerous. The dangerous rise. Oh, calm down, dude. Can't find a man? It's not dangerous. You just believe kooky things and nobody wants to be around you. You know what's really funny is how there's a meme called Reset the Clock. And it's a reference to the timer basically until the next male feminist is outed as a predator of some sort. Because there seems to be a lot of male feminist allies who turn out to be predators. I'll tell you why. A guy who is going to tell a woman whatever she wants to hear and just say, yes, you're right, is manipulative and just saying whatever they think the woman wants to say because they're trying to get something. Guys who are confident are not going to date you. They're going to tell you exactly what they think. And when you get all angry and pout and walk away, they're going to say, I don't care. Now, controversy inbound. A few months ago, I was reading a story about, it was 30-year-old women. It was like early 30s women who had careers who were upset they couldn't find men who made as much money as they did. I'm not surprised at all. There's a particular dating website. I'm not going to name them because they publish data. A bunch of them publish data. But anyway, some data was published and found that men overwhelmingly, or on average, message 22-year-old women, regardless of age. 50-year-old guy messages 22-year-old. Whatever. Kind of creepy. 40-year-old guy, 22-year-old. 30-year-old guy, 22-year-old. 22-year-old guy, 22-year-old. They want 22-year-old women. Deal with it. Women, on the other hand, message men around their age. So a bunch of feminists got really angry. They started passive-aggressively tweeting about me and tweeting at me, saying things like, any man who would try and date a 22-year-old has self-esteem issues or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Don't get mad at me. That's what the data shows. Okay, you got a problem, take it up with all of humanity or evolution or whatever. A lot of feminists obviously will claim it's like a societal thing, whatever. I'll tell you this. Guys want young, attractive women. That's it. So here's what ends up happening. If you're a 30-year-old career woman and you're making, $40,000, $50,000 a year, a 30-year-old man who's making $40,000 to $50,000 a year, about this, like completely on par with you, is going to message a 22-year-old woman. Okay. What ends up happening is the 22-year-old woman sees a guy who's got a career, who's got a car, who's got a house, $50,000 a year. She's in college, probably broke. And she's like, this dude can take me out for dinner. I'm going to go on a date with him. These dudes are not having trouble attracting younger women because younger women see a guy who's relatively successful and he's got cash and they can go have fun, have a good time. I'm not disparaging either the man or the woman in this circumstance. But the 30-year-old women with careers are not the average. So what that means is not the average of what men are looking for. So they're less likely to get those responses. And the way I put it was, I'll tell you this, man. I'm 33, going on 34 in about a month and a half. I'm successful. I got to be honest. When I go on dating apps, I don't date people who are like in the exact, well, actually, I think I'm a bit of a not completely average. I'm not someone who's going to message a 22-year-old and be like, college kid. It's really like, there's nothing there. There's no companionship. It's just not something I'm interested in, Like, I get it. They're attractive. But I'm looking for somebody who's probably not a little bit younger than I am. So not someone who's 33, but maybe like between 28 and 30, I guess. That's typically where I find myself. Not like intentional. I'm not like, 31, you're out. No, it's just I'm like, oh yeah, I tend to realize like that's the area I think people have preferences. You know what I mean? So for me, I definitely date a little younger. But all these women are getting angry now because the actual, I guess, good guys, the real good guys, the guys who are confident, successful, famous, are like, you're crazy and I don't want to date you. And they're also a lot of them are starting to realize when these articles came out, it was funny. It's like, They were told they could have it all. They could be 30 and have a career and then find a great guy. But by the time they're 30, and again, I am not disparaging you for this. I'm not disparaging anybody. The data just shows by the time you're 30, you are not what the average guy is seeking, and you will have a harder time dating. Period. That's just the way it's. Look, man, I know simply by saying that, all of a sudden, like, this is exactly what happened last time. All these passive aggressive tweets come out, and they're obviously, like, these feminists obviously shared and watched my video. Why are you mad at me? I have my preference. I'm allowed to. And the data shows men do this. And yes, by all means, complain about the fact that men do this. That's not going to get you a date or find you a good guy. Now, keep in mind, you can still find a good guy. There are a lot of guys who are 30 who will date 30. There's a lot of guys who want an equal partner. Absolutely. But on average, it's not the case. Okay. So anyway, I did all of that because this is going to generate controversy because it always does. But here we go. I'm not going to read their headline here. Okay. I'm not going to call it that because there's nothing dangerous about men not wanting to date you. Calm down. So let's call this what it really is. Feminists outraged that regular guys don't want to date somebody who holds fringe ideological beliefs. It's actually titled The Dangerous Rise of Men Who Won't Date Woke Women, but this is hilarious, so let's read. Refinery29 writes, the word irrespective means saying or doing something without taking anything else into account. For example, irrespective of the fact that the cost of living has jumped, putting pressure on many people, the government plowed on with Brexit and argued that there would be no real economic impact. Okay, that has absolutely nothing to do with dating. Thank you for telling me that. So it is fitting that white man of the moment, Lawrence Fox, who appeared on the BBC's Question Time program and told a BAME, what it means, black, I don't know what BAME means. What does it mean? It's like Black, African, and Middle Eastern, I think. No, that doesn't make sense. Minority, ethnic. I don't know what BAME means. It's not something we say in the United States, whatever. Told a BAME audience member that Meghan Markle has not been on the receiving end of racism before subsequently appearing on the cover of the Sunday Times to tell the world that he does not date woke women, and then displaying an appalling understanding of history by calling the inclusion of a Sikh soldier in Sam Mendes' film 1917 incongruous, has irrespective tattooed on his arm. What? Did you hear that in the back, ladies? Lawrence Fox, who you perhaps only knew as Billie Piper's ex-husband because you've never seen Lewis. I don't know what you're talking about, but sure, let's read on. I'm pretty sure Refinery29 is based in New York, but this is, I believe, their British version, so... He does not date woke women who believes are being taught that they are, quote, victims, irrespective of whether they are right or not. He thinks that it's institutionally racist to tell the story of the First World War in a racially diverse way, irrespective of the fact that Sikh soldiers absolutely fought for Britain. And he also doesn't believe in white privilege, irrespective of the fact that he works in a painfully undiverse industry, was privately educated, and comes from a wealthy acting family, which is nothing short of a dynasty. Let me just stop you right there, ladies. Yes, in this regard, you aren't proving white privilege either. The fact that someone has wealth has literally nothing to do with their race. I know several people who are Asian and wealthy. I know people who are Asian and poor. I know people who are Latino and wealthy and Latino and poor. There is literally nothing about your race that guarantees you will be born into wealth and privately educated and be successful. It is fair to say, however, that in a majority white country that was founded by a bunch of white people a long time ago, whether through conquest or otherwise, I am not defending the foundation of these countries. I am saying if a country historically for hundreds of years was predominantly one race, it's very likely that they handed down their wealth and their knowledge to their children. And now immigrants are less likely to be on the same historical playing field as the natives of that country. The same would be true for China or Japan. You know, if you went to Japan, you're going to find that people have family histories. You own a house, you die, you give the house to your kids. Okay. So when people are emigrating to a majority white country, just because this guy has family who saved, made money, became wealthy, and not everybody did, I know, has nothing to do with white privilege. See, this is the real problem with how they don't seem to understand how class and privilege works. And it seems almost nefarious because what this idea does is it separates the classes in a ridiculous way. Serena Williams, one of the wealthiest people on the planet, complaining that she's a marginalized or oppressed person is laughable. Absolutely laughable. She could easily hire 10 people to walk around her and no one would ever bother her again. She can wear a shirt that says, I'm Serena Williams, and no one will ever bother. She can go to any store. She has millions upon millions of dollars. It is absurd to think that she is oppressed, okay? She is successful, privileged, and wealthy elite. She sits atop the ivory tower with all the rest of them. But this belief would separate her from a homeless white guy sitting in the street covered in his own waste. Yeah, sorry, that literally makes no sense. So they try to argue white privilege. And what white privilege really is a tiny subset of a probability that if you are from a country that was either conquered by or founded by white people, you are more likely to hold historical wealth, and you are more likely to be in the majority. And because humans are biased towards people like themselves, you will experience net benefits in many ways. What she's describing is not white privilege. The reality is, when they call it white privilege, they're also ruining the idea of what we're really talking about. We're talking about majority privilege, likeness privilege. If you are in a group of people and everyone loves pepperoni pizza, and you have one person who wants pineapple, guess what? You ain't getting your pineapple pizza. They're going to be like, everybody wants pepperoni. Too bad. Now, there are inherent biases, and Brett Weinstein talks about this, that we have to resist those urges because we're naturally inclined to favor people who look more like us. Guess what? Yes, majority privilege exists. Straight up. However, it is Western nations that have done more than any other country to try and break those barriers and ensure civil liberties for everyone. But it's true, right? There is racism, there is privilege factor, and it can go in any direction. You know, if you are a Latino living in a majority black neighborhood, you will experience the same thing as a black person living in a majority white neighborhood. On a grander scale, yes, there are majority issues, there are historical issues, but this is not what, this is them taking an idea and kind of bastardizing it. The bigger problem I see with all of it, however, even talking about those things, is that what we really have is a class separation. I think education is the key. And I think if we're too focused on race, we'll never actually solve the problem of lifting people out of poverty, which capitalism has done a great job of. But anyway, I digress. I don't want to get into a big thing on white privilege. Let's read more. Fox is denying racism and sexism, irrespective of whether or not they exist. It's nothing short of gaslighting. It's all very Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the woke boogeyman. He literally is like, you say Donald Trump's name three times into a mirror and he appears and you know, the patriarchy engulfs you. It's all very Donald Trump. What is that supposed to mean? They're literally just trying to invoke your anger by saying his name because Trump has literally nothing to do with this. What are you talking about? The guy said that feminists are pretending to be victims. That's so Donald Trump. You know what, man? It's probably why Donald Trump got elected. And for all y'all in Great Britain, it's probably why the conservatives just swept in a historical victory. Maybe you should get your head out of your rear. Oh, I'm making him angry. They say Fox is denying. Yeah, we read that. I could go over all the things he said. I could use data to prove how wrong he is. I could express concern for his mental health. After all, who really enjoys arguing on Twitter? Seriously, if you know, a lot of people do. I guess you're bored. You know, I could make jokes about his behavior, but all of that would be to seriously miss the point. There's nothing funny about the things Fox, or Wokey McWokeface, as he now wants to be known, is saying. It's also not particularly sad. It's dangerous. He is just one very privileged man, and as a result of said privilege, has been given a platform and has used that platform to legitimize a bigger backlash against diversity and progress, which is unfolding every single day in less public corners of the internet. Not wanting to date woke women, far from being laughable, is actually one of the more insidious. Oh, this is hilarious. We've graduated from the 30-year-old woman being like, why can't I find a man who makes money like me? To, it's dangerous that they won't date me. It is violence, I say. Okay, that part I exaggerated, but they're literally calling it dangerous. Says, spend an afternoon on any major dating app, and you'll come across generally white men saying openly sexist and misogynistic things. They might say no psychos, or that they effing hate big eyebrows in their bios. And what do we call it when women say no short guys, no fat guys? This is like, this article is written by a spoiled, entitled brat. How much you want to bet? It's a millennial. I'm sorry, I got to do it. Millennials. I'm a millennial, so I'm allowed to disparage them. But don't they tend to be like this? No, that's not fair. There are like moderate, liberal, and conservative millennials who are fine. It's the woke left, isn't it? There's something inherent about it that's very much like entitled. How much you want to bet the person writing this is? No. You know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to back up. We're not saying it. But the point is, they're angry that the guys don't want to date them because they deserve it, don't they? Because they're the morally superior ones. It's insidious. It's dangerous. Oh, no. Oh, you didn't get what you wanted? Aw, poor baby. Maybe you didn't have a parent who told you to shut up once in a while. In fact, as I was writing this, a dear friend sent me a screenshot of a guy she's just matched with who describes Jordan B. Peterson as his dream dinner guest. Yes, the same Jordan B. Peterson who thinks white privilege is a Marxist lie and wants millennials to drop their obsession with social justice. Oh, no. Oh, Jordan Peterson. Jordan, you know what's really funny? You know what I love about Jordan Peterson? Is he's such a tepid guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a certain class of individual, like a sphere in politics of like semi-boring individuals who don't say things that are too controversial. And Jordan Peterson is just on one side, like saying some things that some people are like, oh, that's a little controversial. Like when he said wearing makeup in the workplace or like negligees or something. He's like very like mild mannered. He's not far right. He doesn't even talk about overly conservative values. He just talks about like personal responsibility and like working hard and having a mission. And they're like, oh, Jordan Peterson. I've talked to a bunch of friends, and I'll tell you this too. I have a bunch of like lefty regular people, okay? Like my regular friends. They're all pretty lefties. They were all former Bernie people. And they're like, oh yeah, Jordan Peterson sounds cool. I'd love to. Because Jordan Peterson is not Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro can be bombastic. He can be like, what's the right word? He can incite raw emotion in people with his direct and oftentimes condescending remarks. Not always. I'm not saying Ben's bad. He often has very straightforward and calm. But Ben is a rather aggressive individual when it comes to his beliefs. He's willing to talk fast, hard, and say, no, you're wrong. Jordan Peterson is much more tepid and calm. And I think it's funny that they're so scared of the guy. It's like, dude, you'd sit down and Jordan Peterson's going to be like, well, I don't know. You know, maybe we should have a conversation about these things. And it's like, that's the kind of character you're truly worried about. Heavens, somebody wants to listen to what somebody else has to say. Not only that, but Jordan Peterson being a dream dinner guest doesn't even mean you agree with him. I'd love to have a ton of people over here in the new podcast. I got a mic and everything over here. You can't see it. But I'd love to have a ton of different people I disagree with here. And we're going to do it. It's going to be fun. We'll have a conversation. We disagree. Let's figure out why. But they're like, Jordan Peterson. I meanwhile, recently had to block someone who, after matching with me, launched into a vile rant about how women are evil, only want sex, and treat men as though they are disposable. When I asked him if he hated women, he replied that he had only moderate disdain for us before asking me whether I didn't want to date him because I'm actually pretty rough. I love the irony. You know, my favorite analogy is a fire truck on fire. And that's what that paragraph is. In an article, ragging on men, saying it's dangerous they won't date you, you're angry that you talked to a guy who had moderate disdain for all women. Oh my. Perhaps you looked into a mirror and you didn't like what you saw, but you're too stupid to realize you looked into a mirror. Yes, anybody who thinks all men or most men or all women or most women are like these specific negative stereotypes, I got bad news for you. It's just not true. You go out in the real world, guess what? Most men and women are like, the differences between men and women in terms of like cultural and behavior are slim. This is a caricature. A guy who messages you and says, I just don't like women. Yeah, that's what, 1 in 1,000 or 2,000? Like, it's rare. Most guys are going to be like, I don't know, whatever. That's it. Most women are going to be like, I don't know, whatever. No one's going to like hold these fringe ideological beliefs. Congratulations. The intersectional incel left and the incel right got to have a meeting and they got mad at each other. All of this, of course, speaks not only to the presence of the very active online communities of anti-feminist incels, and there it is, but to the prevalence of the hideous and incorrect ideas they promote. It doesn't take magical thinking to see how men are radicalized by anti-feminism. As the saying goes, when you're used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. Once again, the inability to look in the mirror. Western, wealthy, white women complaining about how everyone else is privileged because they've never gone to Morocco. They've never gone to Brazil. That, I absolutely love it. But you know what? I don't know if this person is white or otherwise. Vicky, I don't know what your race is. I'm not going to drag you for that. But I do think it's hilarious that your job is to write for Refinery 29, which is like the least work a human being could do. And you're complaining about other people being privileged. I've gone really long on this, okay? I'm going to stop. This article's too long and too stupid. Okay? I don't know. But I will say this. These people at these companies get paid something like $50,000 a year. Some get paid less. Maybe they're getting 35. Okay, but I'll tell you what. I know people who lift and break rocks all day. I know people who do actual jobs, like you actually make something. Imagine you work in fast food. I'll tell you this. A fast food worker is more productive than these far left digital writers. What do? And conservative ones too, for sure. If your job is like mine, where you read an article and then complain about it, you are doing like the least amount of work you could possibly do. I believe what I do, I will never pretend that I am not sitting in my own like ivory tower. I think it's kind of a different ivory tower. There's like a new emergence of like independent personalities who are rising up and becoming successful. But I'm never going to, like, for me, I'm sitting here like I completely know what it's like in these foreign countries. Man, they got it bad. We are wealthy, privileged, elite. We got to accept that. But these people sitting at the other side of the table are like, nuh-uh, you're privileged, not me. I'm like, dude, you realize we're both sitting in like a skyscraper in New York City, getting paid to complain. That's it. It's so insane for these people to complain about the privilege of others when they are literally paid to like write articles about, say, Brad Pitt's junk. It's like 25 times we saw a bulge on TV. And it's like, you realize you get paid double what like a construction worker is getting paid, and all you have to do is write nonsense about trash and celebrities. I'll tell you who the most privileged people in the world are. It is these woke writers for digital media blogs who complain all day and night about how privileged everyone else is because they've never looked in a mirror. They've never actually traveled. They've never gone to a real country. But I'll tell you one thing else, and I'll wrap this up. The ones who do, who decide to go hiking through Tajikistan and Morocco, and then bad things happen. You know what, man? There is a class of snowplow millennials, snowplow meaning their parents snowplowed all obstacles out from in front of them, who have no idea just how good they have it, complain about everybody else and say they're the victims while they get paid five-figure jobs, mid-five figures, to complain about a British celebrity because he won't date them. Let me drive this point home to all of the angry feminists who made it through this video, who are now writing their stupid blogs complaining about me. This woman has a job where she wrote about a British celebrity who won't date her, who won't date women like her, and is angry by it. And she got paid more money than somebody who actually has to build a house. Like for the day. I mean, not for the entire project. There are people. You know what? She probably got paid more than a nurse. This is what's really, truly baffling to me. They're like, teachers should make more money. You realize you make more money than a teacher, right? Why don't you donate 50% of your salary because you do nothing to a teacher at a good school? Oh, you won't. That's right, because you're a privileged elite. You know, there are people at BuzzFeed make like $90,000 a year. I love it. And then BuzzFeed has these articles where they complain about this stuff. Listen, man, this is how the market works. I get it. Your article about a British celebrity is going to get a lot of clicks. It's going to get people like me to talk about it. And it's going to generate a lot of attention for Refinery 29, help them get some brand value. So you get paid well for that. Meanwhile, a registered nurse who literally just either saved the guy's life or had to remove or insert a catheter, not fun, I can imagine, is getting paid half of what you get. You want to talk about privilege? Let's talk about this. I should write a thesis on the true privilege, digital media privilege. People who are paid high wages, relatively, to complain about other people while pretending they're the ones who are being oppressed. Talk about a fire truck bursting into flames. No. This is not a fire truck bursting into flames. It's literally a fire truck that it looks like a fire truck, but it's actually designed to spew fire. It's one thing when the fire truck bursts into flames. That's the idea that it was supposed to put the fire out, but it started on fire. No, what this is right here, it looks like a fire truck. And when you turn on the hose, fire bursts out of it. Like, you're designed to make things worse, to start fires, convincing everybody you're actually there to put the fire out. Nah, you are the woke, privileged elites of the world. Some of the wealthiest people on the planet complaining about how marginalized you are. Aw, poor baby. Why don't you go mine coal or sulfur in East Asia so your teeth rot out of your mouth and you got to jam a rag in your face because that's what they do. Why don't you go to Morocco and shovel crap for the camels? Why don't you go to Brazil and go check out a favela and see how the world really lives while you sit atop your literal New York ivory tower that's so white you can't look at it in direct sunlight? Not interested. Anyway, this was fun. I'll see you all in the next segment at 1 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. Here comes the controversy.